I thank you, everybody, for being here. So this gives me an opportunity to tell you about another role that I have outside of the Rotary. So I'm going to give you a little history about our chapter and maybe have an opportunity to show you some pictures if I can figure it out, and tell you a little bit about how I got involved with the DAV. So I'll just start from here. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracy Claudio. You may have seen me around the chapter at the Rotary clubs with my service dog Hannon, who's happily asleep behind me. He and I have been matched since 2019, but I joined the DAV in Billerica when I moved to Billerica in 2008. I'm a lifetime member of the Disabled American Veterans. I joined the Disabled American Veterans when I got out of the Navy in 1999. So it's been a long time since I've been out of the Navy. I was served as a Navy corpsman for 5 years, active duty, full time. And I came out with a few disabilities. And so I worked in the private sector for a little bit after I got out of the Navy, and then realized that I just wasn't private sector material anymore. I liked working for the government, and my career that I had chose before the Navy had changed. And I wasn't interested in that career anymore. So I fell on my Navy training and got a job at the Naval Medical Clinic at the War College in Newport, Rhode Island, at the base at Newport. And I moved to Billerica in 2007 and at that time I transferred to the VA in Boston and worked at the VA in Boston, and then came and transferred to the VA Bedford, where I am now today. I transferred my membership from DAV in California, where I joined originally, to the Billerica Chapter in 2008. And they, at the time, they have 350 members. It's one of the largest DAV members in Massachusetts, chapters in Massachusetts. And at the time when I joined, I was the only female member. There were a few female members before me that had passed away and that were a little older and they didn't participate anymore, but I was the only active female member for quite a few years. And in 2009, they promoted me to chaplain. So I was chaplain of the DAV chapter for several years after the former chaplain, Wally Bayless, retired, and he passed the torch over to me. And to this day, the prayer that I wrote back in 2008 at the beginning and the end of every ceremony is still used today from the current chaplains. They kind of passed on my prayer from year to year, which is a nice honor for me. And I became chaplain 2008, 2009, and I, stayed chaplain for quite a while. And it was really nice to get to know everybody. Our chapter ranges in age ranges from, I think I was the youngest member at the time in my 40s. And we have members that, one of our members just turned 100 last month. We have 2 World War II veterans, one's in his 90s and one just turned 100. So we have various age ranges. And now we have more female veterans, luckily. I don't know if I was the front runner for that, but I definitely spread the word out. So we definitely have more females now. And we did start an auxiliary, which we didn't have before. So the auxiliary for the DAV, in case of you don't know, is made up of family members, wives, kids, friends of disabled veterans that join the auxiliary, because they can't really be DAV members because they're not veterans, they're not disabled. But our auxiliary could be anybody who's associated with a veteran. So if you ever wanted to participate and help the veterans and be part of our chapter, you can join our auxiliary. And they meet at different times, and they also meet they come to our meeting, which is the first Saturday of every month. So from there, I was elected, from chaplain. I was 2009 all the way to 2012, I believe I was chaplain. Yeah, 12. And I was promoted at that time to a couple of things. So I was kind of backup for the audit committee for our budgets, and also for backup adjutant to take care of secretary, that kind of thing, and backup our adjutant in case he wasn't there. And just recently in 2020, I was elected as Senior Vice Cronin. They call it Commander Cronin. It does the same thing, but Senior Vice, which is the second in command for our chapter. So like when in the commander's absence, then I'm in charge, which last week I was, because our commander was at the DAV 5K walk. And in last week's meeting, I had to run the meeting because he wasn't there. We have a chapter, the state DAV committee, the state DAV office in Massachusetts. We do have district offices, and we do have state conventions and that kind of thing. And this year at the state convention in June, I was elected as a board of director member for the DAV for the state for District 4, which is our district, which covers anything from the North Shore all the way down past us to almost Boston. So that role helps me help veterans in that district connect with chapters in their district or in their city, or get in touch with service officers to help them with claims for the VA and such like that. But I'm also help with legislation that DAV is trying to push through the state house and national. So we have our board of directors meeting, and we usually submit several bills and several requests to different legislation issues. One that we're working on right now is increasing the financial benefit for disabled widows and spouses of disabled veterans and veterans that passed away. So their spousal benefits, we're trying to work on that now, but there's a few other things that we do. We have about 25 different pieces of legislation that we're working on through the state. And once it gets passed through the state, it goes up to national, to Congress. So that's what we've been working on. And that's kind of my role. But let me tell you a little bit about our chapter. Our chapter turned 60 years old in 2019. And it's one of the longest running chapters in Massachusetts. I already told you it's one of the biggest. We have 350 members on our rolls, but a lot of them, obviously they don't always come to meetings. But when we do have meetings, the first of every month, we have anywhere from 30 to 40 people show up, which is very big for a DAV chapter meeting, which happens weekly. And we're one of the most active members in our area. So let me give you a little rundown about our history. So the chapter in Billerica began as the dreams of James Galvin of Billerica and Jimmy Shine of the DAV Wilmington chapter 106 in 1958. The first planning meeting was held at 22 Arcadia Road in Billerica, and the chapter's charter was signed on August 13th, 1959. The first installation of officers was held at the Ditson School in Pinehurst in October 1959. At that time, 28 men were sworn in, and James Galvin was elected as the first commander. Meetings were held at the Pinehurst Fire Station until there were sufficient numbers to move to the VFW Ego Post 2597 on Boston Road in Pinehurst, Billerica, 1961. As the chapter grew, William Desmond, George Young, and James Batcock coordinated the purchase of a building at 6 Lowell Street in Billerica, originally known for Father Matthew's Total Abstinence Society. That was we bought that from the Archdiocese of Boston in 1965. This unique building served as the headquarters for the chapter for 36 years until it was sold in 2001, as members were no longer able to care for the aging structure. Coming full circle, the chapter moved in 2001 to another former fire station at 108 Gorham Street in East Chelmsford. Today, and as of 2019, after almost 2 decades here, Chapter 47 has outgrown its headquarters building, which has a capacity of 25 persons. So due to membership that typically attracts 30 to 40 comrades each month, our meetings are now held at the VFW Solomon Post in North Billerica while we search for a new permanent home in Billerica because we've outgrown our chapter building. The chapter has always done a majority of its volunteer work at the Edith North Rogers Memorial Hospital there in Bedford. In the early years, members helped with Beano, bowling parties, the carnival, and a summer cookout at Salem Willows. In 1985, the chapter adopted Ward 78C at the Bedford VA in addition to their regular volunteer work. Today, the chapter has over 350 members, all who have wounded or injured during wartime service to our nation. Our service officers work with local veterans at the VA to secure benefits for what the veterans have earned the right to. The chapter has donated $20,000 in DAV scholarships for students at Shawshene Tech High School and Billerica Memorial High School. Our active members provide transportation for veterans to cancer treatments and medical appointments. Commander Robert Kinsman organized a fundraiser with the Habitat of Humanity for Greater Lowell to provide over $25,000 in repairs to a local World War II veterans home, which consisted of a new roof, painting, and other repairs. DAV 47 comrades annually decorate 50 veteran memorials around Billerica for Memorial Day and help place over 2,020 wreaths on veterans' graves in Billerica at Christmas time as part of the Wreaths Across America project. DAV Billerica Chapter 7 is a major supporter of the VA Fall Festival at the Bedford Hospital, supplying food, games, entertainment, and gifts to veteran patients. The chapter hosts annual summer cookouts at Bedford and is the leading group for the hospital DAV Day, providing gifts and camaraderie to patients accompanied by Santa Claus. Our members also provide clothing for male and female patients at the VA hospital when needed. Additionally, DAV Chapter 47 has embraced the Lowell outpatient clinics in the Lowell Veterans Community Center. Walter Bayless, along with Joseph McShane Jr. and Robert Cronin, led a fundraiser effort to supply 2 flat screen TVs and satellite TV service for the facility for the enjoyment of veterans waiting for medical appointments. Our chapter has also donated a library, pool table, and a Wii game system to the Lowell VA for the amusement of our veterans. We also built an outdoor picnic ground and provided tables, benches, and a handicap walkway for veterans to use for summer cookouts, picnics, and Veterans Day lunches, which are always well received. The chapter marches in the annual Billerica Memorial Day Parade while providing color guard, parade marshals, and guest speakers as needed. We offer a speaker at the Flag Day ceremony for middle school children, and Chapter 47 comrades are also always available to perform a moving DAV military ritual at veterans' funerals as requested by the family. We are proud of our active Women Veterans Committee, and we have helped to organize a DAV auxiliary to assist the accomplishment of the DAV mission to our local community. We strongly encourage all members of the DAV Billerica chapter to participate in our annual Forget Me Not fundraiser drive, a major source of funds for our chapter's philanthropic efforts. We also encourage residents and businesses to support us in our efforts to build lives for our American veterans. So that gives you an idea. So this year's Forget Me Not drive that was held on September 11th, we usually have about 14 areas that we spread out our veterans to stand 3 to 4 hour shifts at the doors to collect money and donations for our Forget Me Not drive. It's the one annual drive that we're allowed to have every year. And this year, despite the fact that we had 3 or 4 locations that weren't allowing us there this year because they were either closed or had something else going on, we still raised over $11,000 in that 2-day period just for the Forget Me Not drives. And I don't know, it's kind of a fun event because after we get done, we all go collect back at the chapter house and we all bring our buckets in and we sit there and we have a way to organize the cash. So we all take the money out of the buckets and we all organize them in, 10s and 20s and 30s and 40s or whatever. And we put them all in stacks and then we all count them all. And then we all have to, me and the commander, because we're in charge of the chapter, we have to go to the bank and we have to, bring the money to the bank, and it's kind of a big deal. And it's actually fun when you have a giant bucket of change. We had a 5-gallon bucket halfway full with change that wasn't cash that we had to carry into the bank and then watch them dump it into that counting machine. And it just goes on and on and on. And we had over $700 just in change. So it was great. And this year was the first time that I got to stand out there. I always stand at the North Billerica Market Basket. That's always my location. I stand there. And it was the first time we had Hannon with us. And I don't know if because it was Hannon or it was me because I looked cute in my uniform, but I was getting 10s and 20s and not just 1s and 2s, $1 and $5 in that bucket. But I appreciate it. I think it was because of Hannon, because he's so cute. But I also wanted to let you know that amongst the things that we did, when we had our 60th anniversary celebration, we had it at Princeton Station, and we had all the wives there. We had the auxiliary there. We actually had Fort Devon's Military Museum donate articles of military paraphernalia that we could have at the 60th anniversary, so that, you know, people that were remember using those things back in the day could have a little, you know, memory of what it was like, and seeing those things from the museum back at the anniversary. We also had a POW table. We had a memorial table there, and we had the state representatives come, and they, you know, did a presentation, that kind of thing. And it was a great time. We had about 125 people there, and we had a great meal. We had an entertainer. We had dancing. It was really great. So it's kind of fun when you see some of these older guys, like the World War II guys, you know, and the Korean guys, when they're out there and they're having a good time with their wives and they're all dressed up. You know, it gives people like me hope that, wow, you know, they're still active at that age. And I'm like, you don't stop. They're the ones that are always there, and they're always, you know, grand marshal for the parade and that kind of thing. So they're a great bunch of guys. But I want to share with you another couple of things that we also do. Let me see. Where like we talked about the Wreaths Across America project. So the Wreaths Across America project is a national project where people from all over the country donate money for wreaths. And for every person who donates a wreath, the national organization matches a wreath. So if you buy one, you're really buying two. And what happens is, usually you go down to a national cemetery and the truck shows up with all these wreaths, and you just basically go up to each grave and you plant a wreath. And you have to, and if it's snowing that day, we've had that happen, when it's snowing that day, and we have to clean off the graves and put the wreath there. Well, what they started doing is letting us, because we were doing, as Billerica Chapter 47, we were doing the Fox Hill Cemetery on Billerica with our own funds, and doing all the veteran cemeteries. We find out who the veterans were buried there, go there ahead of time, clean off the grave, and put the whole thing. And I think that kind of spearheaded a lot of other chapters, because Wreaths Across America now allow us to use their organization for the wreaths. So anytime you donate a wreath, then we get the matching wreath, and we don't have to drive down to Bourne, the National Cemetery in Bourne. So we can actually go to Fox Hill Cemetery in Billerica and put 2,200 wreaths on all the graves there of all the veterans that are there. We also decorate all the trees. There's about 25 trees that go into the veterans Lowell Clinic. And we have a day where we go and put wreaths on all those trees going up for Christmas, and we have a whole big ceremony when we do that. But what else do we do? Let me see. Whoop, wrong document. Hang on. You guys go and see what I'm looking at. I'm cheating. I'm looking at cheat sheets. Oh, right. So like I said, we just had our 100th birthday party for one of our oldest members, Kenny Sennett. That was a big deal. We actually had the governor there, State Representative Mark Lombardo was there. There was a lot of the Billerica TV was there, and they actually came and they televised on Billerica TV, and they had a big write-up in the Lowell paper. He was great. And I remember sitting with Kenny before everybody got there, and he pulled out this, so sweet guy, you know, but he pulled out this picture he had in his wallet. That was him in a war camp where he was stationed. I don't remember exactly where he said he was for this picture, but you could see the tents behind him. He was in his uniform, and he was holding up a letter that he had. He said, you know what, see this? I said, what? He goes, this letter. He goes, I'm sitting there. He goes, this letter was from my then girlfriend that mailed me letters every day when I was away. He goes, and you know what? He goes, I married her and I'm still married to her today. He goes, and remember, he goes, back then when you actually got a letter, the women sprayed perfume on it and put their lips on it. He goes, that made my day every time I got one of those letters. So he's got this cute picture of him holding up a letter. And I was just like, oh, it was just so heart touching. But, you know, I have to say, working with these guys has been a very big part of my life. And they're, especially when I was the patient advocate at Bedford, because they all had issues and they all had help and they needed someone to help them with. And so, you know, I was kind of like their ace in the hole to get in, you know. But now as the, you know, being part of the state DAV team, it's really nice for me to know that I could actually write something that I think is important to veterans and submit it to the state myself. And, you know, we could submit it as part of our chapter and get legislation passed for veterans issues. So it's really great. And it's a really big honor to have this role. And I was shocked as anybody. I was at the convention. I just went to the convention. I wasn't expecting to be elected to any office. And I was shocked. I was sitting there and 20 people who I didn't even think knew who I was and in other parts of the state nominated me for this role. And I was very heart touched and it was amazing because some of the people, I don't even think they knew my name. But it's a really big honor. And just like when I do things for you guys, it's a huge honor for me that way too. And sometimes I feel like an octopus with 8 arms going in different directions, but you know what? It's fulfilling each one. It really is. And I'd like to share something with you that is another two great honors of mine this Veterans Day. So those of you who know I have, you know, a big supporter of Canine Companion since I got Hannon. They are having a virtual event on Veterans Day at 10 o'clock where they are honoring me with yet another honor of an award that they're presenting me for my outstanding service and helping veterans. And so I got this cool award and hopefully you can go on there. I have it on my Facebook page if you want to go on there and register so you can get the event so you can see it because you have to register for the event to get the link to go to the event. But those of you who don't, big surprise, here we go, ready? For you late birds who like to stay up and watch Thursday night football, after the game at 11 p.m. on Thursday, Veterans Day, look for yours truly and Hannon on Fox 25 News. We and another veteran are doing a veteran stories for Canine Companions and veterans with PTSD, hoping we can get some recognition and get some awareness for PTSD veterans to reach out and get the help that they need. So that's about my time. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. And I'm really honored to have you guys be part of you guys and have me as your speaker today. So thank you.
All those honors are very well deserved. I'm sure of it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Sue-Ann.
So I was just wondering, how does Bedford VA fits in? Are we part of the Billerica chapter? I mean, I know we're part of the state, but.
Yeah, Bedford doesn't have their own chapter, the DAV, so and neither does Tewksbury or Chelmsford. So the Billerica Chapter 47 covers those areas that don't have a chapter around them. And the Tewksbury chapter just folded because they didn't have enough members. So now we're absorbing their members. But yep, that's how that happens.
It's interesting. Your chapter is getting bigger and bigger, and the other one is.
Yeah, that's true. And now we have to find a bigger building because we can't fit more than 25 people in our building.
That's a small building if you can only fit 25, I guess.
It's tiny. And that's like with tables, like these really thin, almost like half size of those 8-foot long tables you see like at a regular event, like the ones you're sitting at. Think of those half size. And we only have 4 of them. And then the chairs around the room. And that's basically it. And 2 bathrooms. That's it.
Are there many chapters in Massachusetts? Or is Billerica like the biggest chapter, or how many chapters are there in Massachusetts?
There are a total of, correct me, 89 chapters in Massachusetts. And yeah, some of them are down, like the Cape will have one that's like, you know, all of the Cape. But that's why they break the state up into districts. So in our district, my district, I'm still learning all of the chapters in my district. But we do have several chapters, and then there are some that are a lot smaller than others. And there are ones that are not as active, but we are one of the most active in Massachusetts. We're always asked to be at stuff, and we're always there, and our members are always willing to help or go places and do things, and nobody in our chapter ever says no to anything.
Yes.
No, Hannah, that's.
You got the secret weapon with Hannah.
Well, we had K9 Companions did come out and do a presentation to our chapter a couple weeks ago, and we had one of the Vietnam veterans there who told his heartfelt story. His name is Larry Jordan. He's great, and he was talking about how, you know, how hard it was for him to come out and admit he had PTSD. I mean, he was in Vietnam, and he came out of Vietnam, and he worked a full career and had children and did all this stuff and just dealt with his PTSD every day in silence. And it wasn't until he retired that he was home alone, and it creeped up on him, because PTSD never really goes away. You learn to work around it, deal with it, but it never really goes away. And it wasn't until he was retired that his wife was like, there's something wrong, there's something going on. And he fessed up and said, there's something wrong. He went and got help. And then he replied for the service dog cause. So it was really great for him to give his presentation to our chapter, because we have a lot of Vietnam veterans, and they all kind of spoke up like, yeah, we didn't tell anybody this. We don't talk about that stuff. You know, back in that era, you just didn't. So I'm hoping that his story and what we talk about on the news on Thursday evening is going to be very moving. And apparently, in addition to Thursday evening, I guess we're also going to be on the news Friday morning at some time. I just don't know exactly when, but I'm going to get the links and stuff, and I'll send it to you guys so you guys can watch it in case you miss it.
Yeah, do that, Tracy. Thank you. And
You're
thanks
welcome.
for inspiration to everyone.
Aw. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
You're welcome anytime, you guys.
Yeah.